So good morning all. So today I'm here to discuss regarding the subject international financial management. So in that the unit number 1 is international financial environment. So the title itself says international financial environment. International is nothing but we are dealing with the other countries or cross country transactions. So before moving on to the international financial environment, let us look at the syllabus. We have the importance, risk, reward of international finance and the MNCs, and we are going to study the balance of payments, the equilibrium and disequilibrium, along with that components. So along with that, we're going to study the international monetary system, how it has evaluated, and we have various evolution of the system. So next we have flexible exchange rate, the current exchange rate arrangements, the EMU, that is nothing but the economic and monetary union, and the investments, the foreign portfolio investments or foreign direct investments. In that we'll study the ADR, GDR, and so on. That is nothing but international money market instruments. So to begin with, we'll start with the finance. So finance is nothing but it's the management of money or management of cash or management of investment or management of capital. So it might be the individual businesses or the government who acquire, allocate and utilize the financial resources over time and how they are going to do the risk and return transactions. So that is nothing but the finance. So here international finance. So international finance is nothing but it's a study of monetary interactions that occur between two countries. Here the finance is nothing but the management of money. Now the term international is added. That is nothing but it is a study of financial interaction that occur between two or more countries. So two or more countries is nothing but either we are doing export or we are doing import or we are doing the cross border transaction between two or more countries. So cross border transaction is nothing but suppose take for example if India is producing some goods, take for example Tata products, then if that product is exported to the US or the Japan or the China or anywhere else except India, then we are doing the cross border transaction, that is the transaction between to do two different countries. So that is called as international finance. International finance deals with cross border transactions, or it might be the foreign exchange market, or it might be the foreign financial institutions or the global investments. So that is international finance. As you can see in the example, there is country A and country B is there, and there is a financial transaction that happens between country A and country B. That is another one. It might be the investment. A country is investing in B country. Take for example, A country is India, B country is Russia. Here A is nothing but India. India is investing on B country, that is Russia. Then you call it as investments in other countries. We are doing cross border transactions. Then we'll arise the term international finance. I hope you understood. Here, India is investing on Russia. There is a financial transaction between two different countries. Then it may be in the form of cash or it is investments or the capital, whatever it is. So there is an if there is an any transaction between two countries, that is called as international finance. That management is called as managing the financial resources is nothing but the finance. Next we have why we have to study international finance. So what is the importance? So it is why it is important to study international finance. The first one is facilitating international trade. So facilitating international trade. So international finance is nothing but we are dealing with two or more countries. Well, coming to the first point, facilitating international trade. So international trade. What is trade? Trade is nothing but it's a transaction between two countries, buying and selling of goods from other countries. That's the meaning of international trade. So whenever the term international finance arises, either we have to do the transaction with different countries. So that so because of international finance, we can facilitate international trade. That is nothing but exchange of goods and services across the borders. It might be the export or the import. Then, promoting global investment. Whenever the international finance term arises, we can invest in different countries. That is nothing but global investment. So, India can invest in USA or Russia or China or Japan or wherever the country wants. It will promote. If the international finance is not, then we can't invest on different countries. But here we can promote the global investment. India can invest anywhere else except India. If India is investing in India, that becomes a domestic thing, but here it promotes the global investment, so India can invest in any other countries. Next, enhances economic growth. So enhances economic growth is nothing but, suppose India extend its wings to some other countries, as I said, the Tata. So Tata is doing good in India. Suppose if the business expands to the USA or Russia, then obviously India will do the export. After exporting goods to other countries, India will receive more cash, or India will do business in a good manner, so that the cash will come to the economy, so that by exporting we'll get more of cash. If we get more of cash, then our economy will grow, the company will grow, or the company will make more profit, then a business will expand, or it will have a good growth, the infrastructure will go, the employment opportunity will create, or standard of living of people will increase. That is how, when all these things are improved, if the business is going good, obviously you'll get more salary, the business will expand, or the company will get more profit, this all things will carry on. That is why international finance will enhance in economic growth. In supporting currency stability and exchange rate mechanisms. So supporting currency stability. So currency stability is nothing but, whenever we study the foreign exchange market, as you all know, foreign exchange market is nothing but when one country currency is converted into another country currencies. For that we call it as the foreign exchange market. Suppose if I want to buy anything from USA, I need to pay. I can't pay Indian rupees. I need to pay as per USA country denomination. It might be the US dollar. If I want to purchase iPhone from USA, then I need to pay the US dollar. So to pay US dollar, I need to convert the currency from Indian rupees to US dollar. So at that time, you can see in the news, or you can read the newspapers, you can see that there is a fluctuation of Indian rupee and dollar. So for one US dollar, it is almost 85 to 90 rupees. It will fluctuate. So whenever we want to do the proper transaction between two countries, we should have a currency stability. And one US dollar will not have 100 rupees or 200. If that fluctuation is there, then obviously something is going wrong. So international finance will see that there is a proper currency stability, and and the currency is properly maintained, or the exchange rate is properly maintained. Next, encouraging economic cooperation. So economic cooperation is nothing but, whenever we do the transaction, it happens between two countries, because it is a cross border transaction between two different countries. When this kind of transaction will happen, when one country is investing on other countries, or one country is collaborating with other countries, in this time we will have a good cooperation between two countries. We will have a mutual economic development. Next, enhances financial market efficiency. So financial market is nothing but, it might be the foreign direct investment or foreign institutional investments, all these things. There is nothing but, foreign investment is nothing but when a country is investing in some other countries factors of production. So that is nothing but, we call it as the foreign direct investments. So that is enhancing the market efficiency. Through international finance we can enhance the market efficiency. Next we'll learn, so what are the rewards in finance, international finance, and the risk involved in international finance. As you all know, the international finance will deal with a cross border transaction. If you're doing more of transaction with other countries, for example export, then through that export we'll have more of income. So first one, the rewards in international finance. So access to larger market. As I gave an example of Tata, if Tata is doing good in India, obviously it will expand its wings to some other countries. Then we can go for larger market. If you go for USA market, we can capture more of customers, or we can, if you catch the more of customers, we will get more of profit. We can make more of sales. That is how you can capture larger market. Portfolio diversification. So portfolio diversification means we are not focusing on only one product. We can focus on variety of product. So in the portfolio investment we call it as, where we'll make the investment in different stocks. We don't see only one stock. We'll invest on 3 to 4 stocks, so that if one stock will get loss, we'll get profit in some other stock. So that is portfolio diversification. That is where the international finance will help in portfolio diversification. If one will face loss, we can get profit in some other products or some other investments. Next, higher returns. So as I said, if you are making export, if the country is making good export, if the country is making good export, we can have or we can earn more of profit. So that is where I gave an example of Tata. When Tata is doing good in India, if it export more of products or if it export more of cars to some other countries, then obviously we'll get more of profit or we'll get more of returns. Because so when we are receiving in the US dollars, we'll have more of cash. Or if you are receiving some other country whose value is more, then we'll have more of profit. Then cost efficiency. So cost efficiency is nothing but, take for example, many of the countries, many of the USA countries or UK countries will outsource the things for India. Why other countries are outsourcing some work to India? Because in India labor is cheap or the currency is cheap. You can see more of the USA people will come to India, they will start doing business in India because they will bring the US dollar, they will convert it to cash and they will make the business and they will make the good profit. So that is cost efficiency. Take for example, in many of your families, they will go to Dubai or Kuwait or Qatar. Why they will go? Because the wages or the salary what we get in Dubai or Kuwait or Qatar is more value. So that is nothing but it facilitates cost efficiency. And then economy of scale. So economy of scale is nothing but when a country is doing the bulk production, at that time we'll have the economy of scale. So it is kind of advantage, cost advantage or economy advantage. So take for example, to produce one unit it cost around 1 rupee. To produce 100 units, it may cost around 10 rupee. That is where we save 90 rupees. So that is the economy of scale is nothing but when you are producing in a bulk, you will have a cost advantage. Next, innovation and technology. When the cross-border transaction will happen, when one country is investing in some other countries. I gave an example when India invests in Russia. If India is going to Russia and investing in Russia, at that time Russia will have the good technology in any of the sector. Then if India opens one company in Russia, then obviously India will adopt Russian technology. That is where the innovation will come, that is where the new technology will be adopted by the India through investing in Russia. So these are all the rewards in international finance. So coming to the risk. So currency risk. So currency risk is nothing but as I told, there is a wide fluctuation or volatility. Volatility is nothing but the fluctuations in the currency. There, that is nothing but when one currency, that currency. So currency risk is nothing but, so take for example, $1 equals 85 rupees or 86 rupees. So tomorrow if $1 equals 100 rupees or $1 equals 200, this will cause the reverse effect to the Indian currency. The Indian currency will devaluate, it will lose its value. And this is helpful when we are importing the goods. So when we are exporting the goods, our currency should have more value. Hope you will understand. So currency risk is nothing but whenever there is a high fluctuation of currency. I give an example of dollar and rupee. When $1 equals 100 rupees or 200 rupees, it will help when we are exporting. So when we are importing, our currency should be greater or currency should be more valued when we import. When we export, it might be bad. Then political risk. Political risk is nothing but if the country is going and investing in South Korea, then we will arise the political risk. So political risk is nothing but each and every individual country will be owned by some other person. Or if you go for USA, it is by Trump. Or if you go for Russia, uh, it is by Putin. So likewise, that will carry on. So each country will have different rules and regulations. So next, economic risk. Economic risk is nothing but we have various economic cycles where some economy will be doing good, some economy will be doing bad. If you go for India, India economy is doing good, you can do investments in India. If take for example, if you come to Pakistan, the economy is doing very bad. If you invest there, then we lose the money. That is how the economic risk will carry on. Regulatory risk. So regulatory risk is nothing but the rules and regulations the country will have. So if you want to invest in Afghanistan, where the rules and regulations are very very bad, so that is where that decides on the risk. So if you want to invest in India, then obviously there are no rules and regulations, and we can invest as per their risk and reward. Then the credit risk. So credit risk is nothing but, if it, as I said, the example of India investing in Russia. If you want to invest in Russia, you will be not having any kind of money. Then you need to borrow money from Russia. There it arises the credit risk. It might be the risk. So at that time, the credit risk arises. If you want to borrow money from the Russia, then obviously there are different rules and regulations made for them. It might be the credit period or the risk or the repayment method that is very different in the Russia. So it is where the credit risk arises, because you need to deal with, need to borrow the Russian euro, and you need to convert to the Indian rupees. Then next, cultural risk. So cultural risk is nothing but different country will have different cultures. We call it as Western cultures, or the US will have different cultures, India will have different cultures, or it might be any country you might take, it will have different cultures. So whenever you go and invest in some other countries, or when you're going to start new business in or new company in some other countries, you need to operate as per the cultures of their countries. If you're not doing so, then obviously the company will get in the risk factor. Now come to the market risk. So market risk is nothing but, so before you want to start anything, or if you want to start a product, or if you want to open a company, then obviously you need to study the market, how the customers are going to react to that market. So that, so in the international finance, when you're doing, you don't, if you're investing in Russia, you don't know the culture of Russia, you don't know the market of Russia, obviously you need to study the market of Russia. Then obviously then you need to do the business. So that is where the market risk arises. If you're not doing proper research and development in Russian market, obviously you will face under the loss. Or if the taste and preferences are different in the customers, then obviously you can't satisfy the customers. So that is where the risk of international finance. Next, multinational company, or we call it as MNC. So as you all know, you want to join MNC companies after you finish your MBA. So MNC company is nothing but it is defined as the business entity that operates in its country of origin and also has a branch abroad. So take for example, I will give an example of the Infosys. So Infosys, his headquarters will be on, it will be in Bangalore. Then if the country wants to open any branch or any sub branch in US or Africa, or it might be the Russia, or it might be the Japan, then it will have the 4 to 5 branches outside the countries. Then Infosys is called as MNC company or multinational company, where it will have a main headquarters in Bangalore, and it will, the branches will be operated by the headquarters or the main branch. So that is called as MNC or multinational company, where the origin will be in one country. Take for example, it is in India, then the branches will be in abroad. You may take any companies like Infosys, Tata, Wipro, or PepsiCo, Nestle, or Unilever, or anything. You may take it, as you can see it in the example also, you can see the diagram there. Take for example, if the main branch is in London, then it will have a sub branch in New York or Mexico or in Tokyo. Then it will have a, it is called as MNC companies. Then we have the importance of MNCs. Why MNC is very much required in today's world. So one is market expansion. As I said, if Infosys is doing good in India, then obviously it has to extend, or it has to grow. Then if it has to grow means, then you need to invest, or it has to start in some other countries as a separate sub branch. Then if that kind of expansion is done, if Infosys is growing in such a way that we have only one branch in Bangalore, then it has to open some other branch in some other countries, then obviously it is expanding, or it is growing, or the revenue is increasing, or sales is more. That is where the market expansion will happen. It is only because of it is a multinational company. Then maximizing profitability. If Infosys is opening more branches in some other countries, then obviously it will grow, it will develop, and it will have more profit or more revenue. Then innovation and technological or technology advancement. So innovation and technology advancement is nothing but If MNC companies are working, or if companies are going to have the different branch in different countries, then obviously we will have innovation and technological advancements. As I told, if you are going to US and if you are doing business, then USA will have different technology, or it will have the innovative technology. We will adopt that technology. If we go for Japan, the Japan will have different technology. We will go there, we'll start the business, we'll adopt their technology, so that that technology can be brought back to India and we can do the business. That is where, through multinational companies, through having various branches outside the country, we can have more of innovation and technological advancements. Next, diversification of business risk. So diversification of business risk is nothing but, so each and every country will have the business risk. As I told, in India, many countries will outsource the production activities to India because the India will have a cheap labor. So coming to the USA, the labor is very costly. So each country will have different risk. So that what we can do, if you're having the main branch in USA, take for example, there is an Apple company in the US, and for the manufacturing of Apple iPhones is very costly in US. So that they will outsource their business operations to India. In India, making of iPhone or Apple phone is very less, or we can say the cost is very less, so that we can diversify the risk. Instead of doing in USA, we'll do it in India and we'll have more of profit, so that we can reduce cost, we can increase the efficiency. Next, talent acquisition and development. So talent acquisition is nothing but, if various branch are opened outside the countries, then obviously we need to hire the people of USA. If Infosys is there in India, then if it goes to the USA, if they start the company in US, then we need to have some employees. Those employees will be taken from USA itself. You can't bring everyone from India, so that we'll hire in the USA itself. So when we are hiring in USA, we'll have different technology, or different people. They will have different skills, they will have different knowledge, so that it will help in acquisition and development. That is nothing but human resource acquisition and development. Next, enhancing global competitiveness. So when you're entering to the global market, or when you're entering to the international market, we'll have more of competitiveness. As I said, when Nestle company will go to the international market, it has to compete with the other countries' companies, the main companies. You may take any examples. So as I said, I gave an example of Tata. If Tata is doing good in India, if that enters to the USA, then it has to compete with USA market cars. It might be the various cars. If it enter to the global market, it has to compete with BMW or Audi, or you may take it as Benz or Rolls Royce. It has to compete with various companies. So that is where the global competitive will come to the place. Next, corporate social responsibility and sustainability. Whenever MNC company is doing good, whenever the company is expanding or it is developing, then it is making more of profit. Then obviously if the profit increases, even CSR activities also increase, then we'll have good sustainability. That the company will grow slowly and it will make more of profits. So next important concept, the balance of payment. So the balance of payment is nothing but it's a systematic record of all economic transaction between the residents of a country and rest of the world during a specific time period. We'll consider only 1 year. Usually we'll consider 1 year. So balance of payment is nothing but it's a statement that summarizes when a country is doing its business in India as well as the rest of the world in a 1 year or a specific period of time. It might be the imports, exports, or capital flows or financial transfers. It might be anything. Balance of payment is nothing but it's a statement that summarizes the transaction with the country itself and the rest of the world. So that is nothing but balance of payment. You can see it provides a detailed account of all the international monetary transaction made by the country residents, including individuals, businesses, and government bodies. It includes individual transaction, business transaction, or the government bodies. When these bodies make a transaction within the country itself as well as with the other countries that summarizes each and every transaction, and we'll get the balance of payment. And there are various components of balance of payment, that is current account, capital account, and financial account. So we'll come to current account. There are three various account in balance of payment. First one is the current account. So current account is nothing but it records the transaction related to goods, services, income and transfers. As you can see here, this account scans all the incoming and outgoing of goods and services between the countries. The goods and services incoming and outgoing is nothing but it usually takes the exports and the imports. That's a main transaction that current account is going to record. And there are various concepts like trade in goods, that is nothing but export and import of physical goods, or trade in services. Services may be tourism or transportation or banking. Then income receipts and payments, it might be the dividend, interest, wages. So these are all the transaction that are recorded in a current account. The mainly current account will come across the export and imports and the trade in services, that is tourism or banking or transportation. So these are the transaction that is recorded in current account. Coming to capital account. So capital account is nothing but capital transaction like purchase and sale of asset. So like land, properties are monitored under this account. So it is nothing but it records it records the acquisition and disposal of non-financial asset. So non-financial asset is nothing but land and buildings or land and properties. So coming to financial account, or we call it as finance account. So finance account is nothing but it deals with the investment flows. So the funds that flow between or from the other countries through investments, foreign direct investment, or business enterprises. As I said, so financial account which records the transactions of financial or foreign direct investments, or it might be the portfolio investment or other investments like the currency deposits or the loans or some other reserves. So done. These are the transactions that are recorded in finance. So we have three main accounts. One is current account, which records the imports and exports. That is the physical goods and the services. It might be the export and import. Coming to the capital account it records the transaction of the asset, the purchase and sale of asset like land, building, properties, or whatever it is. Coming to the finance account, which records the investment flows transaction like foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investments, or currency investments, or the loans. So these are all the three important account of balance of payment. So next important is disequilibrium in balance of payment. A disequilibrium is nothing but either in the balance of payment will have surplus as well as deficit. There are two things. So surplus is nothing but the country receipts are more than the payments. So deficit is nothing but when the country has more payments, less income. So that is what surplus and deficit means. So surplus means the revenue is more, the payment is less. Deficit means payment is more, the revenue is less. And there are various reasons. So this BOP disequilibrium occurs when the total inflows do not match the total outflows, causing deficit or surplus. When the total inflows are not matching with the total outflows, will arise a deficit or surplus. So deficit means more of payments, surplus means more of revenue. And there are various disequilibrium in BOPs. First one is the cyclical disequilibrium. Cyclical disequilibrium is nothing but it occurs due to fluctuation in economic activity. So cyclical disequilibrium arises due to fluctuation in economic activities, that is nothing but the business cycles. The business cycles we have like boom, recession, depression, everything we have. That is cyclical disequilibrium. If there is a variation in these cycles, if there is a boom, then the country is doing good, we're doing the good business. If it is in the recession or the depression, then it is the business is doing in a bad manner, so that will arise us with the surplus or the deficit. So that is a disequilibrium when inflows are not matching with outflows. So it may cause like difference in growth rates, inflation, or employment levels. So best example is nothing but, so during the boom, as I said, in the during the business cycle boom, India income level will rise, leading to higher of exports. That is nothing but it causes disequilibrium. The next one is structural disequilibrium. So structural disequilibrium is nothing but it may be caused by deep rooted weakness in a economic structure. It is nothing but because of poor infrastructures or over reliance in the expert. If you are more relying on the expert itself or the lack of industrialization, that is where the structural disequilibrium in the economic structure, if there is a disequilibrium, like if you are more concentrating on expert, the country will focus only on export if it is not importing, or if the country is more or lack in infrastructure. If the country is not, if the country has not no good proper infrastructure, then obviously no country will invest in India. It is a structural disequilibrium in the economic structure. These are all the causes, that is industrialization or poor infrastructure or over reliance on the export itself. So these are all the causes. If the country is relying very poor in all these things, then obviously there will be some disequilibrium. For example, Zambia depends heavily on copper exports. Zambia depends heavily on copper export. If copper prices falls, then obviously the earning will stop. Hope you are understanding. Zambia depends heavily on copper export. Zambia will get more of profit if it is doing export of copper. Suddenly, if copper prices falls, then what will happen to Zambia? If it export also, they won't get proper money or proper return. So that is what the disequilibrium it will cause. So next is fundamental disequilibrium. So fundamental disequilibrium represents a chronic and long-term imbalance in the BOP. That is nothing but it is a chronic and long-term imbalance. It will cause the poor export or misalignment of currency or the poor macroeconomic policies. When this kind of causes will happen to a country, then obviously the disequilibrium will occur. So fundamental disequilibrium is nothing but there is a chronic effect or long-term imbalances. At that time, this kind of disequilibrium will arises. So I can give an example of Pakistan. So in the Pakistan, from many years, the Pakistan currency is devaluating. That is nothing but the country value is decreasing, the money value is decreasing. So at that time, so if you're if you're less in export, since currency value is decreasing in Pakistan, you can't do any export to the Pakistan, or Pakistan always keep on importing, they keep on buying the products, they won't sell. At that time, the country should have more of loans or more of expenses rather than the incomes. That is where the Pakistan is going down in economy. So that is an example of fundamental disequilibrium. For a longer period of time, if Pakistan is not doing good in economy, then obviously if it is relying more on import, more of purchasing the products, not focusing on the selling the product, then obviously the country will do bad. So that is what the disequilibrium, where inflows and outflows are not properly matched. Then temporary disequilibrium. So temporary disequilibrium is nothing but if there is a short term imbalance caused by temporary shock or event. Short term imbalance, that might be the natural disaster, if there is a sudden natural disaster or sudden war, or temporary trade disruptions, and a sudden change in the prices of commodity. Take for example, in Japan, if earthquake happens, if suddenly such kind of the causes are happening in Japan, then obviously importing and exporting will become difficult to Japan. At that time, disequilibrium will happen. Or if there is a sudden war, in the previous month we had a war between India and Pakistan. At that time, if the war was very sudden, then obviously the import will export will become very imbalance between these two countries. If they are doing any kind of transaction, at that time temporary disequilibrium will happen, and this is caused by natural disaster or war or temporary trade disruptions or immediate the fluctuation in currencies. The last one is secular disequilibrium. So secular disequilibrium is nothing but the long-term disequilibrium due to growth and development. So it is the long-term impact on growth and development. So causes like developing nations import capital goods to build the infrastructure. So that is a cause of secular disequilibrium. So that is the fluctuation will happen in secular. It will have a long term effect or long term disequilibrium due to growth and development things. So today we discussed the international financial environment, international finance, the risk and reward, and the MNC. So what are the importance of having MNC companies? Then the balance of payment, their components, that is nothing but the various accounts under balance of payment, and the disequilibrium. So under disequilibrium, we thought the reasons. There are five reasons, that is cyclical, secular, structural, temporary, as well as fundamental disequilibrium. And the rest of the things we'll discuss in the next class. Thank you.